Okay, so we are part 3 of our final exam review. We're talking about triangles, different types of triangles. So we have acute, obtuse, and right triangles. And so we're going to look at what each of those look like. And then we also have, okay, hold on a second. Here's our different types of triangles. Remember, an acute triangle has all acute angles. Okay, hold on. So here's an acute triangle. Sorry, the other one was not acute. And then an obtuse triangle. Acute triangle means all the angles are acute. That means all the angles in the triangle are less than 90 degrees. Okay, so obtuse triangle means one angle in the triangle is obtuse. And then the other two would have to be acute. And then a right triangle just means that there is one right angle in the triangle. And remember, all the angles in a triangle add up to how much? Good. Add up to 180. All right, so let's keep going with these other types of triangles. So we have a scalene triangle. Now, scalene means that none of the sides and angles are the same size. None of the sides and angles are the same size. So this one might be 9 units long, this one would be 10 units long, and this one would be 4 units long. And so in a scalene, they're either going to show you the measurements of the side or the measurements of the angles. And if you see that they're all different, it's scalene. So a scalene triangle, like I said before, has no equal sides or angles. Everything is different on a scalene. An isosceles has 2 congruent sides and 2 congruent angles. And then an equilateral triangle has all 3 sides are congruent and all 3 angles are congruent. And so in an equilateral, all the angles are going to equal 60 degrees. Because they're all the same size. And 60 plus 60 plus 60 is going to equal 180. Quadrilaterals is our last section. So quadrilateral means it has 4 sides, because quad means 4. And that's a triangle. Okay, the angles equal 360 degrees in a quadrilateral. So that's important. Make sure you have that written down. Okay, so this specific type of quadrilateral is called a parallelogram. Okay, so parallelograms have 2 sets of parallel sides. What's wrong? They also have 2 sets of congruent angles. Opposite angles are congruent in a parallelogram. Okay, so opposite angles are congruent. So on the exam, you might have a problem like this, and it's going to say, how much does x equal? Well, if those two, if those 2 angles are congruent because they're opposite of each other, x is going to equal 56. Okay, you don't even have to do any math. It's just whatever's across from it, that's what it equals. There's another example I'm going to show you. Okay, so another example from the exam is you're going to get a parallelogram that has some numbers around the side. And it might say, something like this. So on your parallelogram, opposite sides are congruent. Opposite angles are congruent, opposite sides are congruent. So if I know that this side is 20 and this side is x plus 2, all I have to do is make them equal each other and then solve the equation for x, and that will tell me how much x equals. Okay, but remember, if this side is 20 right here, this side is also 20. So what plus 2 equals 20? 18. All right, so if we solved it like a regular equation, I would subtract 2 from both sides. 20 minus 2 is 18. Okay, so you can do it in your head or you can solve it like an equation, whichever way. So then if we solve for y, we'll do the same thing. We'll say y plus 5 equals 15. So what plus 5 equals 15? 10. So if I solve it, y equals 10. We're going to talk about different types of quadrilaterals now. So a trapezoid has one set of parallel lines. All right, you got parallel lines going one way, and then the other two sides are not parallel to each other. They could be any different direction, but just not parallel. And then over here on this side, we have the parallelogram, which we already talked about. We have a rectangle. We have a square. Let's see if I can draw a square. And we have a rhombus. All right, and a rhombus is the last thing that we have. And so you just need to know what these shapes look like. A rhombus is basically a square that's kind of been like scrunched on its side a little bit. So all the sides of the rhombus are congruent. They're all the same size, but it just does not have the 90-degree angles like a square has. All right, and so that is it for today.